She was never featured on camera, she never signed a contract, but for 7 years she existed as Kody Brown's secret wife until today, because now she is in court. And the minute she gets on the stand, everything is different. No cameras, no TLC crew, no production assistants running around for retakes. Just a cold courtroom bench and flagstaff and the sound of hushed gasps when the bailiff swung open the door. Christine remained statue. Still, Mary tilted forward, puzzled, Janelle's brow creased, and Robin paled because entering that courtroom in a plain black coat and shades was a woman none of them had expected to see, a woman no one was allowed to see. Her name was Hannah. No last name yet, no introduction. But the file in her hand told the court everything they needed to know. The judge cleared his throat, then leaned in toward the mic. Miss Hannah. Tell me your relationship to Mr. Kody Brown. The woman didn't even blink. I was his wife 7 years secretly, silently, and without a contract. You could hear the whole room hold its breath. Kody didn't say a word. Robin stared straight down. Christine's binder was no longer the focus of the room, because this was a bomb no one had expected from even her tabs. Hannah made her way slowly to the stand, and in that gait, you could see it. Years of deception, manipulation, and emotional exile written into every step. The court had not been informed this witness would testify. Her name was not on any filing, and yet the clerk had confirmed the file she brought hours ago. A notarized affidavit, neighbors' affidavits, and most incriminating, a letter signed by Kody himself back in declaring her his spiritual refuge and promising money for the life they built in private. Christine's lips parted involuntarily. Mary breathed. What is this? Robin's lawyer whispered something in her ear, but she shook her head, amazed. Janelle merely gazed. Your Honor, Hannah stated, her voice crisp but unyielding. I've come not seeking revenge, but because this court is weighing the integrity of a man who persuaded millions he was open, honest, and plural with permission. But I was concealed, bribed, and erased, Kody finally said. She is lying. The judge held up his hand. You'll get your turn, Mr. Brown. But first she has the floor. Hannah sat, opened her file. Let's start with the cabin. Janelle turned her head. Which cabin? Christine breathed softly. Hannah pushed a picture along the bench to the clerk, a tiny log cabin in the Wyoming forest. This is where he kept me, she told him. Where I resided. Where his children never arrived, where Robin never stopped by. She stopped, but the payments were issued from a family trust, the same one he informed this court he never used without asking. Kody's foot started tapping wildly, and just like that, the ground changed again. The silence in the courtroom was oppressive, not dramatic, hazardous. The type of silence where decades of stories start to crack under the pressure of a single ignored fact. The judge leaned over, examining the black and white photograph Hannah had produced, a small log cabin, partially snowed in, with a blue Chevy pickup parked in the driveway, and a date stamp of March. Is this cabin currently owned by Mr. Brown? The judge asked. Hannah didn't blink. It is in the name of the Dalton Trust. The room changed, Christine blinked. Dalton, she mouthed to Janelle. Robin closed her eyes. Kody didn't stir, Hannah went on. He told me it was a filming location, told me I couldn't say a word, that if the wives got wind, it would all fall down, that he'd lose grip of the family, the show, the money. She let out a sigh. So I shut up for 7 years until he let the property tax lapse, and I figured things out. I was never a wife. I was merely a shield. The judge's eyebrow went up. You were financially maintained. Yes, Your Honor, she said. But on the down low, no documents, just checks drawn from a business account traceable to Brown Legacy Ventures until they suspended. Kody cut an objection. She is not germane to this case. His voice broke. The judge didn't even glance in his direction. This court will determine what is relevant. And if your name appears on trust documents or account transactions, he paused, we'll hear it. Hannah pulled out a bank statement. The th of March, dollar, transferred from a Flagstaff LLC account labeled BLV Holdings to the Dalton Trust. She flipped to another tab. Here's the email he sent me that same day. Baby, don't worry. The other wives won't notice a thing. The cash is stashed in Robin's rental documents. That final sentence was a shiver that ran through the room like electricity over glass. Janelle glared at the ground. Christine rocked back in her chair, her jaw clenching. Robin buried her fingers in her forehead. This court is for truth, Hannah said, her voice growing stronger. And the truth is this. I wasn't kept secret because I was shameful. I was hidden because I was leverage insurance. A secret Kody could wield when the wives began stirring. Kody slammed his pen on the table. She was never my wife, the judge replied calmly but firmly. And yet your signature is here, in a letter titled Covenant of Unity, dated October, where she is described as your spiritual companion and domestic partner. Legal or not, it creates intent and awareness of the relationship. Hannah spun around. He referred to me as his secret anchor. Told Robin was the front. Christine was the warrior. Mary was the sacrifice. And I was the backup. Christine's eyes blazed. He said that, she breathed. Hannah nodded. I didn't realize I was a ghost until he quit writing. Then I understood, he never wanted to be discovered. And now that I am here, he is going crazy because his mask just cracked. And throughout the courtroom, for the first time that day, Kody Brown was frightened. The courtroom hung in stunned disbelief. Cameras were not permitted, but if they were, the whole country would have seen Kody Brown recoil into his chair, a man shrinking visibly under the burden of his own choices. And Hannah, she wasn't merely clutching papers. She was clutching a mirror. The judge pushed his glasses up, then spoke to the court clerk. Please tag all pages of the Dalton Trust and BLV Holdings for exhibit. Hannah eased a leather folder down the bench, within handwritten journals, envelope stubs, bank receipts, and most incriminating of all, a ledger, not Christine's hers. I retained it because he instructed me to, Hannah started. He said if anything happened to him, I'd need to prove our history, so no one could erase me like Mary was erased from the show. Mary looked up sharply. Kody flinched. The judge flipped open the folder on the second, a photocopy of $1, transfer marked property development expense routed to a contracting firm in Cheyenne. Was this for your home? The judge asked. No, Hannah confirmed. That was for the remodel he'd promised to do for me, but the work wasn't ever done. The money was transferred to a different account, one attached to a Flagstaff property listed in Robin's name. Christine straightened. So the never-done remodel financed Robin's expansion? Yes, Hannah stated coolly, and he used me to cover it. That was an off-record withdrawal, a phantom transaction no one would ever doubt. Kody blew up. This is crazy. I never signed anything. Hannah quietly reached for another page. That is not what this indicates. She gave it to the clerk, the judge read out. Authorized third-party disbursement. HL covered under verbal marital contract. Dated April. Initialed KB. The courtroom hummed. Robin leaned into her attorney, lips flying quickly. Christine spoke to Janelle. Did you have any idea about this? Janelle nodded her head, mouth wide open. We did not see these accounts, the judge continued. Miss Hannah, why now? Why come forward? She stared straight at Kody. Because I saw each woman in this room get wiped out slowly, quietly. And I understood if I didn't say anything, I'd be the next name he acted like never existed. She took a breath, her voice dropping. He said I was his vault, told me I was where he stored things he didn't want the others to know about. A vault recalls, she continued, though. And today I am opening it. The clerk held up a yellow sheet. Your Honor. This ledger verifies 8 cash transactions in excess of $1, from BLV Holdings to the Dalton Trust between and. The judge nodded, then we are no longer talking about hearsay. We are talking about a financial pattern of cover, up and layered misrepresentation. Kody grumbled under his breath. Christine rose to her feet. Your Honor, I have an entire binder section marked. Nothing in these records appear there. This confirms he concealed cash from all of us. The judge nodded once more. We will suspend normal testimony now to study these documents in their entirety. He looked at Kody and Mr. Brown. If this structure of accounts is confirmed, we could be dealing with fraud. Kody's lawyer remained standing, but said nothing because even he noticed the storm was not approaching. It had already come. The courtroom lights flickered a little. Merely a power surge. But at the moment it seemed symbolic because for Janelle, for Mary, for Christine, and now for Hannah, all of that which had been kept in the dark was now emerging into electric precision. The judge sifted the pages from Hannah's ledger-furrowed brows. Your document refers to as the silent year. Why is that? Hannah adjusted in the witness chair. Because that is when the deposits ceased to appear under my name. But the bills didn't cease. The money just redirected. She rummaged through her bag and produced a crumpled sheet of paper. This, she held aloft, is a notarized bank statement from my institution indicating a sudden shutdown of our joint account in early February. I wasn't informed. I didn't discover it until my rent bounced. Janelle winced. Christine tightened her fists. When I confronted him, Hannah went on, he told me Robin's new home cost more than anticipated, that it was short-term, that I was still in the plan. But a month later, when I went to look in the Dropbox folder that we shared, I was locked out of it. My photos were deleted, the text slowed down, and by summer I knew I'd been quietly erased. The judge's face grew dark, deleted, digitally, emotionally, financially. He shut me down without a fight, no explanation. Just erase me like a mistake he had to cover up before anyone saw. She gazed over at Kody. But mistakes leave a trail, Kody, and I followed every crumb you left behind. Robin finally broke the silence. This is a performance. She is jealous. Christine shifted deliberately toward her. So was I, until I knew it wasn't jealousy, it was grief. Robin stood stock, still. The judge lifted an exhibit, marked document, Miss Hannah. Can you tell us about this calendar? On the screen, a court clerk displayed a spreadsheet of transaction dates, color-coded notes, side annotations in handwriting, and labeled calls. These are all the dates he came to see me, she said. Between and each trip cross, referenced with fuel bills and unaccounted weekends on the family calendar, Mary whispered. He said he was doing spiritual retreats. Hannah nodded. He was with me. The courtroom visibly bristled. You weren't spiritual healing, Robin gritted. You were a distraction. Hannah didn't blink. No, Robin, I was a test. He needed to know if he could blot someone out in real time. Conceal me without concealing himself. And when it succeeded, when no one inquired about where the money had gone, he knew he could repeat it again, with bank accounts, LLCs, and later, all of you. The judge leaned into his microphone. We are now proceeding to judicial review of the financial audit. I will be hiring an outside forensic examiner to follow all transactions flagged as BLV Holdings and the Dalton Trust. Christine rose. Your Honor, before you go any further, I'd like to enter into evidence the tab of my binder, because this woman is not just a witness. She turned to Hannah. She is the missing year. Hannah's eyes filled. But not with weakness, with recognition. Because the first time in 7 years, someone wasn't denying she existed. They were documenting her. Christine moved carefully, binder in hand like she was carrying the final piece of a decades-long puzzle. The courtroom watched her, no longer just a former wife, no longer just a reality television figure, but a woman who had built a mountain of proof while her world quietly crumbled. Your Honor, she moved toward the evidence table, tab. I didn't get it then, but I get it now. She opened the tab and drew out a plastic sleeve with a receipt, dated the th of July. It was a check stub to LifeBridge Development LLC $4, She'd thought then it was a payment for land grading at Coyote Pass, but Hannah just confirmed something. Christine went on. That name, LifeBridge, is the contracting company Kody used to launder money into Robin's expansion, but here is the kicker. That address on the receipt, that is not Coyote Pass. The judge leaned forward. Where does it go? Hannah interrupted. That is my cabin. The room gasped audibly. The address matched. The contractor matched. The LLC matched. That check, said Hannah in a low voice, was for the septic install. Kody assured me after a blizzard clogged our system. He assured me it was done. Now I know who covered it. Christine shook her head. I didn't have any idea what I was signing. He said it was for our property, for our future, and I trusted him, Janelle rose. So did I. Mary remained seated, but whispered, this is what he does. He divides the lie. Robin's lawyer objected. We're deviating from material relevance. The judge shot him a sharp look. Counselor, this court is in the middle of unraveling a 7-year financial deception. I recommend you take a seat and watch. Christine handed over 3 additional receipts, each tracing so-called joint family expenditures that were actually tied to Hannah's living arrangement. I was assured these were for landscaping, utilities and an insulation upgrade for Robin's second-story nursery. But the nursery didn't even exist until, Hannah softly whispered. That is when he had me evicted. The judge let out a deep breath. So. Let me summarize what we're now dealing with. Funds routed through shared LLCs, expenses misattributed to communal property, a secret residence, and a woman hidden from legal documentation for nearly a decade, and all of it verified. Kody's face contorted, lips pressed into a white-hot line. But he didn't speak, not that he could not, but that for the first time in his methodically constructed story, he had no more to say. The court clerk gathered up the receipts and tied them together under a new title. Exhibit T Cross, Verified Hidden Expenses, Christine plus Hannah. Christine turned around and faced Hannah. When I created my binder, I thought I was crazy. I thought perhaps I was reading too much into things, that it was mere grief or suspicion, undefined, but now I know. My binder wasn't for court, undefined, it was for you. Define proper tie because you were the missing piece. Undefined, you weren't invisible. Define property. He just made sure we couldn't see you. Hannah blinked quickly, trying to swallow the emotion rising in her throat. Undefined. And now you do. The judge cleared his throat. Define property. This court will now broaden the scope of inquiry. We are no longer investigating misallocation. We are examining a pattern of domestic concealment and financial fraud. Behind him, the court stenographer typed the words out slowly, each one by one. Domestic concealment. Undefended, new term. Undefended, new charge. Undefended, maybe, a new chapter. The judge remained quiet, but inwardly it was breaking apart at the seams. The binder that Christine had brought and the vault that Hannah had breached were coming together into one humongous, irrefutable truth. Kody Brown had created a system so intricate, so intimate, that each lady in his life had ever only received a part of the entire tale. And now, all the parts were summing up. Robin adjusted in her seat, shoulders rigid, hands shaking against the armrest. For more than a decade, she had been the family drama's emotional center. The last legal wife, the spiffed-up story, the one who wept but never cracked. But today, her silence wasn't sadness. It was distrust. Christine studied her intently. You knew, didn't you? Robin said nothing. You had to, Christine ventured. The payments, the projects, the budget shortfalls. You said it was TLC delays, but it was Hannah. It was always Hannah. Objection, Robin's lawyer shouted. Speculation. The judge waved it away. We've already established Robin's name on a number of transaction redirections. Let the witness continue.